Hey guys, it's Danny. Today I'm super excited because we're gonna attempt to do something I've dreamed about doing for years at this point. I don't know about you guys, but I'm very fascinated by these decorative disc waterfall things. They're very relaxing as they are. That little sound of water, it's so beautiful to me. But imagine this. How about if we decorate it with some mosses and some orchids attached or mounted on those mosses, which are constantly moist due to the water, but not necessarily in the water. You know where I'm going with this? A constantly moist mound that is very airy at the same time. Sounds good in theory, right? Well, I recently just found one of these fountains or waterfalls at a local store, very affordable. They got really cheap in the past years actually, and I thought, 'tis the time. I looked for something kind of natural. Most of them tend to depict a little faucet, some human-made objects, you know, those types of decorations. I was looking for something more stony, more natural, and you know, I think this is as good as it gets. I don't think I'm gonna find exactly what I'm looking for. And well, 'tis the time. Let's do this. Let's see if I can create a beautiful, magical, fairy waterfall decorated with orchids. And I thought it would be a great idea to take you guys along for this success or failure, whatever it will be. We're gonna see, we're gonna document everything like we always do. I'm hoping it's gonna be success. So that's what we're gonna do today. Are you excited? I am. Before we start, don't forget to give this video a like if you end up enjoying it, and why not subscribe? I post multiple times a week. Righty. So before we start, do orchids actually grow in mosses? And when I say mosses, I don't refer to sphagnum moss. Yes, we know they grow in sphagnum moss. No, I'm referring to live green mosses. Well, I actually have one that grows in moss. Let me show you. Alrighty then, look what I have here. I have a cattleya growing in moss. This is that beautiful moss that I found a couple of years ago at a flower shop, and I'm cultivating it ever since. However, though, it's the type of moss that only does well if it's slightly moist all of the time. It cannot really withstand too much air. Hence why this orchid has been sitting like this. But what do you know? The orchid does need air, lots more air than the moss. So from time to time, I need to remove the dome, aerate the situation, put the dome back. It's a bit of a hassle if I'm honest. So I'm looking forward to not having to do this. But what I wanted to show you, and this is Cattleya former Sophronites wittingiana. It stays small, and it's the type of Cattleya which does not require as much light or as high temperatures. So let me show you the results, because this actually worked out pretty great. This is the orchid. It's been sitting here for the past at least 5 months or so. And if you look inside this dish, you can actually see roots. I tried to remove it from here, but it's lodged in. And that's because it rooted in the moss. Now, the trick is, as I always say, to offer air and moisture at the same time. Do we see how aerated this moss is? If you can see through the bit of algae, it is very airy. I do not keep this in water. I just make sure the moss is wet. I spray it with my trusty automated sprayer, like so. This moss really hates to dry out. We can see it's a little yellowing there. Yeah, and that's exactly what I do. And being that it's under the dome, it does stay moist for quite a while. But it is also very airy. So the concept works. Yes, orchids can actually grow in live mosses. And they're not the only ones. Carnivorous plants as well. Some people grow live sphagnum moss actually, and orchids in that moss. Now, the benefit of growing orchids like this in live moss, for me at least, are one, the moss does not go bad, it doesn't break down because it is not dead. But most importantly, second, it does not attract algae, because it would be so easy for me to just get this sphagnum moss and attach it to all sorts of mounts. It holds onto water like nothing else. That is my favorite material, but in this climate, it gets overrun with algae, and not only cyanobacteria, I'm pretty sure, because it stinks, to the point of actually burning roots. As you know, I always cover my pots in a top layer of bark because bark shades the sphagnum moss so algae cannot take hold, and also bark does not attract algae since it doesn't retain all that much water. And well, live moss doesn't really attract algae either. This one has a little bit of algae at the bottom because this is transparent, so light can still reach the actual glass, and the algae formed on the glass, not on the moss. So, will I have algae forming there? I don't know, maybe a little bit, but I don't think I'm gonna have a lot. So I think you kind of get where I'm going with this. I wanna put live mosses on that thing, and then the orchids mounted on the mosses, or like placed on the mosses, for them to be free to spread their roots, have water at the same time, but not necessarily be in water, you know? Have air and water at the same time. Now, this is not the only moss we're gonna work with. I think we're gonna work with some aquarium mosses as well, which can actually do okay in the air as long as they're wet. We're gonna see about it. We're gonna see what I'm gonna do. I don't have a plan. I'm just gonna do it, and we're gonna wing it. In my mind, it looks nice and whimsical. We'll see how reality will look like. All right, so let's fill it with water just so we see where the water flows, where we can attach the moss, where it will have contact with water actually. And I already assembled it, it wasn't a big deal. We just have a water pump here, and this particular one has a little LED here. So there is an LED bulb inside as well. And that's it, nothing more than that. So we put water here, and I will try to place as much water as possible because water pumps need to be completely submerged in water. So I'm gonna go to the brim of these little legs that hold the top piece on top pretty much. Okay, let's plug it in. If you're curious what this contraption is, well, it came with the European plug. This is what we use in Romania actually. Standard European plug. Cyprus uses the UK plug, so this is what I gotta do. I can definitely change it because, yeah, we have a standard jack here. So I can see what power this has, and I can buy a UK one. I will do so at some point. I'm gonna buy a different adapter. I'm gonna find one at the hardware store probably, but for now, I didn't get one. We're gonna do this contraption, which looks silly, but yeah, it's okay. Alrighty. And there we have it. So this is how it looks like. It's pretty silent. And I think at this point we should change a little bit the angle. I'm gonna bring you closer because I need to turn this to face me and we can start decorating. Righty, let's do this. Alrighty, much better. You can see what I'm doing here. So, as I was saying, I'm not only going to use that moss, which I still have quite a colony of, I'm gonna try to use some aquarium mosses that I've had for a while. I did not use in any of my aquarium setups, but these guys can actually grow immersed as well, so not inside water if they're wet enough. And the idea is that even though you can see the flow of the water is kind of limited, we don't have water here or anything, if you make a little trail of moss from here to here, it will direct and pretty much suck the water to an extent to these sides as well. So if we plant or attach the mosses on the sides, making sure they touch the water, they will absorb the water. They have a little bit of capillary action. So we can put orchids in multiple ways here, even if the water doesn't flow here, which is fine. I don't want water over my orchid necessarily. So I think the best thing to do is to grab the other moss as well and see which one works better. Okay, so I got some of this moss here as well. Doesn't it look gorgeous? It actually didn't even have much light. I feel like this moss doesn't really like a whole lot of light, so we're gonna see how to mediate that. But since this type of moss has a bit of a weird bottom, do we see? It does have some dieback at the bottom there. I don't think I want it up top. I think the best location for it is somewhere at the base because it really does enjoy that water as well. So here, if we can, what am I doing with this? If we can create, you know, something like this, a little bit of a hedge here, I think that would be ideal. At the same time, I don't know if this is enough water for it. To be fully honest, it is that much of a difficult moss. So I'm not gonna use a whole lot of it. I have most of it still in that container, but I think you can see what I mean when I say that the water just gets directed. Do you see? It just starts to flow here a little bit as well. Maybe not so much here. So, okay, maybe I should direct the moss more here, since the water doesn't want to flow that much here. I want this moss to be the one permanently in water. Oh my gosh, you guys, it is darling. So yeah, this moss, I just want it to be wherever the most water is, or most of the water is. Next up, let's just play around a little with the other mosses. Which one should I choose? I really like this one, but underwater. I'm not sure how it's gonna look immersed. This one is also easier to grow, I feel like. Yeah. See, this one, apparently it's easy to grow, this one medium. I like both of them. I don't find them hard to grow, but immersed, I'm not sure. So let's use the Taiwan moss. What I want to do is attach it to places that can get wet. And do you see how immediately all of it got wet? And all I had to do is just attach it here. Maybe I won't even have to glue it. I would love not to glue stuff because super glue leaves residue. So if I want to move something later on, I'm gonna have to remove the residue as well. Okay, you know what? Maybe that's about it with the moss. Maybe that's enough. How about we work with some orchids now? So first off, this Cattleya, I think she was doing great in that situation. So why not try to replicate it? How am I going to arrange it now? Because obviously the roots have gotten the shape of that bowl, and what I want them to do is kind of attach to my little situation here. Where there is a will, there is a way. Let's see. Oh, there we are. Can you sit like this? I think yes. I think she definitely can. All right, look at that. I think, well, this root is a little bit too much in the water, but okay, she's in the air. We'll see. At least it's running water, so it has a lot of oxygen. As it tumbles down, it accumulates a lot of air, so that's good. Alrighty. Second, I have this poor Arangis punctissima. I think that's the name. I tried it in various setups. It did not really enjoy it. It came mounted. I have a dead root here, so I just want to cut it. Alrighty then. So maybe a moss situation would be better. Let's see. Where can I place you? Maybe here, or maybe here. Oh, there we are. She fit in here like a little glove, didn't she? And now the roots that she's gonna grow, they can attach to the situation. I don't need to water all of them. Maybe I can spray them, but I think this is her place. Right, we need something here as well, right? I have another mounted one. Let me unmount it really fast. All right, so this right here is another former Sophronides, currently Cattleya. I don't agree with this. Sophronides should be Sophronides, really, because they're very different. So this is Brevipedunculata crossed with Coccinia. And this one has been mounted ever since I purchased it many months ago, and it's a little dehydrated. This environment does not help me out with mounted orchids, so generally I don't prefer them. I think she will love this little setup. So let me just see if I need to remove some roots. This root, no, it was not alive anymore. All right, this one, how pretty would she be here or here? Here maybe? Okay, I'll just go with it here. Do you sit? She sits. She's a good girl, you know? We need more moss here. Definitely more moss. But I'd love to have more water on. Instant water hog. I'm just removing some dead bits. Because see, my orchid has some roots that are extending here, and I want them to benefit from that water as well. How did I arrange it? Was it like this? There we go. So these roots now will have some water as well because the moss is dragging it. Awesome. I'm looking forward to this one not being so dehydrated. I would love to have another one here and a little tiny one here, but I'm not entirely sure if I have anything. Maybe I do. Hold on. I think I actually do. Hold on. Hold on to your hats. Do you know what this is? It's a bulbophyllum barbigerum. I showed him on my other channel, my shorts channel, in the bulbophyllum update, and it was still mounted ever since my birthday. So again, lots of months being mounted. And look, he's dehydrated, but he has a lot of roots. Won't he enjoy this setup? Because bulbophyllums really do enjoy constant moisture. And the best place for him, maybe here? No, it's down here for sure. Can I find a great place for him? He will live here and he will find his way, no worries. Maybe a little more on the sides. And I would love to have another tiny one here, but at the moment I don't have one. So for now, this will just have to do. I think it's okay. I think it's enough for now. Alrighty then, here we are. This is actually the second day. Let me tell you what I did. So I finished up the project and I put everything on a programmable plug. It's my IKEA plug over there, because I was a little bit worried to let it be running during nighttime. Water pumps are designed to pretty much work all the time in aquariums, but you know, I'm always wary with new devices. So what I did was I only ran it for 1 hour last night, and then all through the night it did not run. And thankfully the moss stayed wet, which is great. And really, you know what this is? This is the self-watering mount. I have so many ideas right now. I'm gonna try to DIY some stuff, although I'm rubbish at DIYing, but I really think I'm onto something with DIYing a mount. I have tons at this point of water pumps, power heads, and so on. I can do something, so stay tuned for that. As for this project, I have to say I really enjoy it, and it really wasn't all that hard. I was envisioning me having to glue all the bits and pieces of moss with super glue, which is, by the way, not toxic for plants. We use it in aquariums to attach moss all the time. It lives underwater. It's not toxic to anything, but it's hard to scrape when you want to remove something. So I'm very pleased that I didn't have to glue anything. The orchids are not tied or glued either. They're just propped there strategically. And really all I want for them is to have moisture. I don't think I'm gonna run it all of the time. Since I have it on my programmable plug, I can run it a few hours a day and pretty much that's it. And I do think this opens up a window to having orchids mounted in a way or another if you don't have time to keep them mounted, but you do want that experience, especially with mini orchids. Now, I have some contingency plans as well. If the moss doesn't make it, I think I'm gonna attach pieces of black felt under the orchids just to serve as sphagnum moss, right? I don't want to use sphagnum moss, it attracts algae. Black felt, maybe not so much, and it's still very absorbent. So it will direct the water to where the orchids are. And in the worst case scenario, I'm just gonna remove all of the mosses and everything and just run this as a self-watering mount, which pretty much it kind of is. But I hope that the mosses will survive. They're the only ones which are tricky in this entire setup. The orchids are definitely not. And I think it would be better for the orchids as well if I didn't run it all the time. I really don't want them to be so wet all of the time, although it's summer now, but still. So I can program the entire setup however I feel like, and that's great. So that is about it, you guys. I'm so incredibly excited. You're gonna see this week I worked a lot in the plant room. I did a lot of stuff. My nails are looking horrifying, but it's okay. It means I had a good time pretty much in the plant room. So you're gonna see more videos with all sorts of projects this week. I hope you're gonna enjoy them. Thank you so much for watching this video. I shall bid you farewell and wish you a good day. If you want to stay in touch with me on other social platforms, just search for me. I'm at MissOrchidGirl pretty much everywhere. But most importantly, subscribe to this channel because here is where I post the most important stuff. And you don't want to miss any of my videos, hopefully. With that said, I'll see you all next time. Bye!